All right. Okay. And welcome back to OmniFoot TV. This is your host Omar speaking. I'm making this video just to react generally to mainly everything pre and post Euro 2024 semifinals. More specifically, 3 of the teams that made it to the semis. And one other team sort of justifies my claim. I consider international football to be a litmus test of how football generally evolves tactically. And when I look at this tournament, all I feel is discouragement and honestly, depression. Euro 2024 has been the worst Euros I have ever witnessed in my life. The further things moved away from the group stages, the worse the tournament became. The teams that made it to the semifinals, except Spain, all of them did not deserve to be there. And I know, football is not a game of who deserves to be wherever they're supposed to end up. It doesn't matter if you deserve to be wherever you end up or not. All that matters is you take your chances. I believe that, and I've made my peace with that a long time ago. But the devil is in the details. Please explain to me how there were more own goals than almost any of the semifinal teams, and almost any of the teams in the semifinals had scored in the tournament. I think we had reached a point where there were 10 own goals, and the Netherlands had 9 goals in the tournament by the time they got to the semis. England had 5 and France had 1, and that was penalty. The whole tournament. The point I'm trying to make here is that there is a deadly brand of football that has taken over the international game. And people are calling it anti-football. I personally agree with the term because it's disgusting. Watching a France side with the amount of talent that they have play under Didier Deschamps in a way that is just excruciatingly painful to watch, I see no meaning or value in any of it. Not scoring a single goal from open play all tournament, ending up in the semifinals. That has to be studied. Somebody should figure out why that happened. Because if the game is going to keep evolving in such a direction, then we may as well not play it at all. The Netherlands were horrible, despite the fact that they got to the semis. And they were incredibly bad against England, who were in their own right possibly the second worst team in the tournament, behind France. England were dreadful the whole tournament. Despicably, cowardly dreadful. From start to finish. And the blame falls on Southgate. And I've given him a lot of shtick throughout my time creating content on this channel. And I will continue to do, I don't need to continue to do so, let me just change that. Because he finally left the job. Finally wised up and stepped aside. You know, on the record, I'm going to just say this to put it out there for everyone to hear. I would have much rather been proven wrong than to have reached this point. I would have much rather seen Gareth Southgate get his act together, play a brand of football that actually had some sort of meaning injected into it. And even if they didn't win the Euros, I'd still be able to say, I was wrong about this man. I was wrong about this human being professionally. He's not the coward I thought he was. He's changed. I won't get to say that. Koeman falls under the same bracket. Martinez at Portugal as well. Just to name a few. You have Deschamps at France. Like, these 4 managers, what is the point of their presence on the international scene? We've gotten rid of Southgate. The other three need to go. Spain winning this past Euro was honestly the best possible outcome in the worst tournament I have ever seen. This was definitely the worst tournament I had ever seen. I look at this and I think in terms of, okay, the game should generally go to the side that plays better. A lot of people will say that should be a rule of thumb. However, the game will also, and should also, go to the side that takes its chances when provided. But you have to provide some sort of value on the ball when you have it, even if you are under 30% possession throughout the whole game. You don't need an excessive amount of possession to create chances, to be organized, to play with will, to show some guts, to trust your teammates, to show the opposition that they have something to be afraid of in general. France didn't do that all tournament. Neither did England. And nor did the Netherlands. And Portugal were horrible. I looked at something earlier today, and apparently Georgia had the second highest XG of the whole tournament, if not the highest. George Mikotadze is, apart from Dani Olmo, was the top scorer of the tournament. If not for these smaller teams, the tournament would not have been entertaining. We can go back to the Netherlands versus France game as an example. The game was shambolically horrible. I don't even know if shambolically is a word. Like, I'm going to have to check that out. But Jesus, it was bad. It was bad. It was so bad that it was good. The only reason it was good, to an extent, was because both teams were utter crap. That blows my mind. And I think that the game is going to keep moving in that direction. Individuality has been completely stripped out of this game. It's been destroyed. Tactically, the game keeps falling and falling and falling and falling into this robotic framework that is poisoning the game itself and the youngsters who are trying to make it through the ranks at any team. Like, I'm fed up with the game. If not for Spain, if England had won the Euros, I would have been completely depressed. And I get it. The ends shouldn't necessarily justify the means. And hey, I mean, if England had won the Euros, that would also still apply. The end still wouldn't justify the means. Because the means that were used to get that far, to win the tournament, hypothetically, were barely even present to begin with. They were barely active. The players were not coping. They were just hoping that with sheer luck, they could go on to lift the trophy. Southgate kept making the same mistake over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until he screwed himself up. I don't know why the English predicted any different. And honestly, it would have been nice for them to win. Just not with Southgate. And people praise him for being the first English manager to reach 2 consecutive Euros final. Have you seen the bracket? The path to the final at each time was predictable. And when they faced the difficult opposition that was required for them to finally reach a point where they could have a hand on the trophy, they failed. Because they weren't good enough. There is no such thing as a great team that makes a great coach. A great coach makes a great team. A great manager makes a great side. If you're mediocre, that's all your transfer. If you're subpar, that is all you will be able to transfer to these players. That is all they will feed off you. The same goes for the Netherlands, and the same goes for France and Portugal. 4 of the biggest sides in the game today, and they barely Like, they have nothing to be optimistic about. Nothing at all. If anything, this is proof that having big game players, or big name players, because they didn't really show up in big games to begin with, having big name players and having nothing in terms of a bedrock and a foundation upon which to build a team is useless. Georgia's victory over Portugal proves it. This Euros was a disgrace. Honestly. Not organizationally, though, unlike the Copa America, which is something I'll probably get to later. But yeah, these are my thoughts. This is why I didn't make any content. I also had some circumstances that had to be addressed. And honestly, I don't think I would have been able to make anything positive, which is not ironic because everything that was going on throughout the tournament to get each of these teams ahead was generally negative. Portugal were lucky against Slovenia. England were lucky against Slovakia. Even Turkey were a bit lucky against the Austrians, but that was still a good game. The Netherlands beat the Turks and advanced, and it was just, I don't know. There was nothing I could make of this tournament. Really. I'd much rather forget about it. And that's all I have to say, really. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, comment if you agree or disagree with anything I've said. I would much rather prefer that we have a respectful discourse in the comment section below. And, just subscribe and follow us for more content. Hopefully the next batch of videos and reels and shorts and all that humbug will be much more positive than this, because I would much rather focus on positive things. Thank you, and I will see you again in my next video.